So episode 4, Mirror Mirror, is like a natural progression because I feel like I've done all the theoretical kind of bits, and even though there's still some more like theory to come, I feel like I could come in and really hone in on my specific experiences. And again, it ties to the previous episode talking about like these insecurities I have in terms of my masculinity and how it extended to how I see myself as a person. And again, it's because we are so ruled by like these things like shame and just hating ourselves and all this stuff, and that kind of the later episodes delve into that. It's why we lack so much perspective in our youth. And there's all these like internal and external pressures to be a certain way, and it's like, no, you're growing, you're finding yourself. And like now I can embrace that because I'm still on that journey of finding myself. I just hate that the start of it had to be clouded with so much self-hate. And that's what I like about this episode as well, because in some ways it feels like an ending. I remember watching this when I posted, I was like, oh, like people might think you're finished now. Then that's like the kind of core point that informed the rest of the episodes. Why do we have to accept it? Wake up, let's change, let's go, let's move. That's why I put like the red apple at the top to kind of say like, this is where we're going, because, you know, like the apple symbolizes, it can be like, you know, the whole teacher's pet thing and da-da-da-da-da. Then it also ties to original sin. And even like a lot of times when we see the apple, for example, in Snow White, which I do like reference in episode 6, the apple puts Snow White to sleep. And it's only when you wake up, and I hate that they've ruined woke. I can't even say like, you've got to wake up and be woke. But a lot of this process was really like me like waking up, and I'm kind of touched. Let's lock in on this episode specifically. But now looking back on myself, it's like I'm more awake, and I'm able to look at myself and be like, oh, like I love you, like I like you. Do you get what I mean? And you're not ugly. And it's like, without having these conversations or ever addressing these things, like there's so many, and I really like the response to this episode as well, where like a lot of people were saying, yeah, like that really resonates with me, because when these thoughts stay in your head, they're there for so long that you just assume that everyone else is thinking the same thing, or that like, yeah, everyone else finds you ugly. Getting it out and acknowledging it just makes me feel bad about myself. But like I hope and dream that like when we're at the age where we start having kids, we shouldn't be having kids. Some of you, please don't have kids, please. Some of you not at all, but like let's wait a bit, because we've got stuff to process. Yeah, we've got stuff to process. When we have kids, like they won't feel insecure, or they'll have environments that can not be shrouded in shame, and they can feel like, yeah, like I feel ugly, and I can say to you, babe, you're not ugly, you're 13, you're growing up, like you're just becoming a person. Enjoy that, feel it. Like, don't feel like you have to conform or be something else. But I also wanted to talk about one of like the more thematic influences for this series being Janet Jackson. I talk about the Velvet Rope, and I said I done a documentary. It was only like, again, like when I decided I'm going to do a creative commentary, that I realized, yeah, like you did that Janet Jackson thing, this documentary. Guys, I yapped about every song on that album, dissecting the lyrics and all this whatnot. And a lot of that is about introspection. And it's like I took that and used that here. But also I feel like in ways I'm inspired by like Control, which is her finding herself in her youth and taking control and being like, but then it's also kind of my Rhythm Nation 1819. Do you get what I mean? Because I'm like, yeah, look at the world, let's change it. But like, Janet was a bit naive. I'm actually giving the theory, yeah, love you girl, mwah. But then kind of to end, that's what I feel like where I'm transitioning to. And if you follow me on Instagram, that's why I post a lot of Teenage Dream, and there's actually additional commentary there on my story highlights. For example, I have this photo shoot for something that I'm working on. Where I'm trying to go and where I'm trying to be inspired by is Janet, her 1993 album, where it's just like, no, I'm gonna let go, be fun, be more like, I'm gonna say sensual, but not even like in a sexual way, but just like, well, not in just a sexual way, but like I'm just ready to feel and embrace the world. Do you get what I mean? Like a moth to a flame, burned by the fire. My love is blind, can't you see my desire? These episodes are getting longer because, again, I'm getting more comfortable, and when you get me comfortable in my skin, I react and I say what's on my... Goodbye.